as we mentioned to kick off the show, this is conference week. It's going to be blowing up all weekend long. So we're going to dive into the top storylines going into the championships. We're going to start off with the ACC. That's going to be at the track at New Balance in Boston, Massachusetts. And I think we're all kind of in agreement that the men's mile, if everyone that we think is going to be running in it, it's going to be stacked.
Yes, yeah. If you're looking at the top storyline here, I think it is the men's distance side for the ACC, but specifically the mile, right? Because if you look at the rankings right now, the qualification list for NCAA Division I indoors, you have 4 guys, I believe, that are ranked in the top 20. So you have Ethan Strand of UNC at number 15, 354.62. Gary Martin of Virginia at number 17, 354.73. Parker Wolf of UNC, 355.09 at number 19. And then at number 20, you have Steven Jackson, 355.39 at Boston College. I mean, that's a pretty stacked race right there if you have all 4 of those guys in that same race.
Yeah.
And it really just all depends on, like, granted, a lot of times conference, championship meets, it's going to be tactical. Like, they're probably not going to push for something really fast. But, like, I mean, I will at least throw it out there. Yard Nagoose has a 355.62 meet record. Will it play out tactically, or will they try to run something fast? Who knows? But also, this is the mile, too. I think it's interesting for the men's side. It could be really big in terms of getting points because, as I just listed there, you have 2 guys from UNC. You have Gary Martin from Virginia, but there's plenty of other guys from Virginia that are going to be in that top, most likely within that top 8 potentially in that race. So that could be a big point getter for them.
Yeah. I think my brain is spinning right now because, again, top 16 make it to the NCAAs. So right now we have conference this week. We got to bye next week. And then after that's NCAAs. If you're not ranked in the top 16, it's not like outdoors where they have rounds. Like, you have to be ranked in the top 16 in the country in your event to make it to NCAAs. So if you're on that cuff right now, I don't even know how you would want to approach it. Like, you have to go off time at that point. So I feel like we could see a little mixture of a little bit because, as you mentioned, Gary Martin right now is 17th. If all 16 guys in front of him say we're going to NCAAs, Gary Martin's not running. So do you set yourself up to run a really fast mile so that way you're good to go to NCAAs, or do you run it tactically to get the title?
I don't know. It's just going to depend how the race goes, I guess. But
I do have a comment here.
Yeah.
And it actually is a very good insight into where the mile is right now. And I have to give props to Kyle Merber here. He tweeted recently
I saw that tweet, yeah,
about the mile, and the 17th fastest time, several days ago was 3:54.73. In 2012, Miles Batty set the NCAA collegiate record running 3:54.54.
Just shows you where we've gone as a sport, especially in the distance side, which could be, again, I feel like this comes up in conversation at least a few times a season every year since what I've been here for almost 2 years. I feel like it comes up like at least a little bit every year. Like it's just a better training, the shoes, surfaces. Everything. I don't know. It's a combination of everything.
It's everything. All right. I want to ask you your question. Is Yard Nagoose's 355.62 meet record in jeopardy?
I want to say yes, but because you do bring up a good point where a lot of these guys are sitting just outside of that 16 list. So I want to say yes, but then I also know how a lot of these meets end up happening, and I'm going to say no.
You're going to say no?
I'm going to say no.
I say yes. Corey?
I say yes.
Oh, so I'm the only one. Oh.
355.
Okay, it is at the track, though, at New Balance.
Yes.
Fast track. So
it's at the fast, brand new facility. Absolutely gorgeous.
We just need everyone to come to a consensus, hey, guys, we're going to run really fast today.
No tactics involved.
No
tactics involved. We're just going...
I changed my mind. I'll say no.
I'll say no? Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
I'm saying no. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sticking with my yes because I'm that
You're
person.
Positive.
I'm that person. All right. Let's move to the SEC championships. This will be at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. And I don't really my brain is Arkansas has the Arkansas women, I think, is just the storyline going into these championships.
Yes.
The Arkansas women have not lost an indoor SEC championship title since 2013. This will be year 11. I don't know who would be able to to top them here.
Well, and I'm telling you right now, I don't think anyone's going to beat them this year. That's for sure. If you're looking at the squad that they've got going into SECs, I mean, they're just absolutely loaded, especially when you look at that quarter-mile squad. You have Amber Anning, the collegiate leader in the 400 at 50.56. Sanu Jallow, she's the collegiate leader in the 600 and also part of that 4x4 crew, I believe, 126.52. Then you have Nikisha Price, number 2, collegiate 400, 51.04. Kaylin Brown, number 5, collegiate 400, 51.49. And then Rosie Effiong, number 6, collegiate 400, 51.58. I mean, come on.
Did you hear what you just said? Like all these ladies are like ranked in the top 6.
Yeah, and they're also ranked 10. Among the top in the world as well.
It's insane. Like this 4x4 is stacked.
Yep.
Arkansas, I'm not going to be surprised if they go 1 through 4. I'm not. I'm just like, it's the Razorbacks.
Yeah, and then also you have people like, I mean, they have star freshman Shanti Jackson, who's gone 7.18 in the 60 and 22.77 in the 200. Those also are marks that rank among the top in college right now. So, and then they also lead, obviously, the 4x4 with a mark of 3:25.59. So there's just, to me, there's just right there alone, that wins you a meet, right? Like,
right.
If you're not even talking about the field events, you're not even talking about points in the distance, because obviously their women's distance is very, very solid as well. Like,
yes,
there you go. Like that's the meet. They won.
Revoltson, Maya Cochran, Tia Low Stracco, like in the mile and the distance events. But even in the high jump, you have Rachel Glenn, who's tied for NCAA number 3 right now with the jump of 6'2" and 3/4 of an inch. Nia Robinson in the long jump, number 7 on the collegiate list right now with a 6'41". I don't know. It's just no one's taking them down, I feel like, unless there's a major hiccup, and I'm not going to even wish that upon anybody.
Extremely major.
That's the only reason Arkansas women go down. Yeah. That's the only thing. But because it's the SEC, I kind of want to throw some other events at you, Ashley and Chat Guy. Jamesia Ford, okay? South Carolina, NCAA in the 200 and the 300 right now this indoor season. Of course, I don't think the lists are out yet for what events they're doing, but I'm wondering if she's going to be trying to double in the 2 and the 4, which is going to be very challenging.
I'll say yes.
She won her first set of SEC titles. She's number 3 right now in that 400. So if anybody, I feel like that's going to break up the Razorbacks in that 4, it's going to be Jamesia.
Yeah, and it really does depend on what she decides to run. I think that 200 she can win that 200 title. That 400 will be a little bit more challenging, especially if she's trying to do the 2, the 4 double against the Arkansas women. But again, I feel like she comes up in conversation every week because she's been just throwing down insane times. Again, only a freshman from North Carolina, now running at South Carolina. So again, I think if anyone can do it, she's going to be one that can sneak up there and grab some big points away from Arkansas.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see when the official lists come out. But I think just even looking at the 60, I'm pretty 95% sure these ladies are going to be in this field. We talked about LSU Brianna Lyston, who went 7:07 earlier this year. JCS Sears is going to be in the mix. Kayla Jackson of Georgia, Shanti, as we just talked about, and Grace Stark. You have all these ladies that have gone faster than 7:22. The fastest time comes from Brianna with a 7:07, and then Grace Stark has gone 7:21. It's going to be fast.
Yes.
The 60.
Very fast. We'll probably see, I mean, we could definitely see faster than 7:07.
You think so?
Yeah.
How, like, are we talking 6?
No, I'm not. No, not that fast. Not that fast. I just think, we could see something fast when you have all those ladies there together.
You know what?
Don't say that, Liv. Don't say you're going to see a 6. No way. No freaking way.
Would I be crazy if I thought that?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, be bold. Be bold.
Be bold.
Be bold.
The thing is, Arkansas's track, like my personal best, comes from Arkansas's track. That 60 is fast. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to be the person. 6.99.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
6.99.
Okay.
Brianna came out of nowhere. Think about it.
Yeah, but they got to shave off like 0.08.
Honey, that's the start.
That's the start. That's like
start.
a bit. I don't know.
That's a start.
Okay.
Think about Noah Lyles right now. But these girls are running, like their starts are a lot better. But I feel
What?
These girl starts like
What?
these girl starts can get out aggressively.
Oh my gosh.
Come on now. Noah Lyles' start versus
Why are we
Brianna?
comparing Noah Lyles' start to
No, I'm just
Brianna?
saying, like, Brianna, I feel like has a really explosive start. That's my point. That was the point I was trying to make.
I still don't really get what you're trying to say here, but okay.
Okay, it's fine. We're just gonna move on from this. But I'm saying
a couple chat comments.
Okay, chat comments.
First
yes.
of all, Brian Dybel, our coworker, says he doesn't anticipate a record going down the mile.
Okay.
No
Yeah,
Yared record-breaking moment there. He doesn't see that.
Okay.
Everyone agrees with Arkansas women. They are outstanding and should win. I have a question for you too. If Arkansas wins, who's the next up?
Oh gosh.
Florida was 2 last
Yeah.
year. Tennessee was 3. Alabama, Ole Miss. Georgia was 6th in the SEC. But they obviously have a really strong sprint court.
They have a strong.
Do we think Georgia jumps a little bit this year?
I think Florida, because not only do they have good sprinters, they have some good people in the jumps and stuff as well, the field events, but they also have Parker Balby,
Yeah.
who I've heard she's running the 3K, 5K double. I've seen that places.
There we
So
go.
I mean, that's where you get your points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if anyone can come second or potentially maybe get closer to Arkansas, it's gonna be Florida.
Yeah, my gut says Florida, and Corey, as you mentioned, Georgia. I feel like, and we actually had a chance to see Deanna Hill at USA Indoor Championships. The team is very, very young, but there's so much talent there that I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a jump from Georgia.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my take.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Like they're set
Yeah, for sure.
for years to come too, not just like this one season.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move on to Big 12s. Texas Tech in Lubbock. Sprint squad. More sprints.
Lots of sprint conversation here.
Yeah.
I feel like we can't talk about Big 12s without talking about that Texas Tech men's sprint squad. If you're looking at the 60 meters right now, the top 4, they have 3 of the top 4 men in the 60 meters in all of college, all levels right now. You have Terrence Jones, who's the collegiate leader at 647, Dondre Swint at 649, and then Sean Brown 653. I mean, those are times where you're up there with Noah Lyles, he just ran 643 at US Indoors. Like, these guys are legit, and they're going to be running on their home track. And if you go 1, 2, 3 in that 60, that's a lot of points right there. And if you're looking too at the 200, Terrence Jones is the fastest in the Big 12 at 20:57. They also have one of the fastest 4x4 times right now in college at 3:04.84. Again, so kind of like what we were saying about Arkansas, Texas Tech is one of those teams where I think on the men's side they could get just so many points in the sprints that are then it's hard to come back from that.
Yeah, I agree. Also, just thinking about the 60-meter hurdles, you have Caleb Dean, who's gone 7:55, also leads the NCAA at the moment. So I don't think anyone's going to be taking down Texas Tech. And just thinking about, you named a lot of their athletes, their top 5 of their top 60-meter runners are in the top 10, and that just makes me excited for the 4x1 come this spring.
Yeah. They're using the Big 12 now, so the women are going to be, I'm really excited to see what they do. Anywhere from the mile up to the 5K, and especially that DMR as well. I think we could see something special from them too.
You already know I'm a huge BYU fan.
Yes.
Coach Taylor, I'm all for her vibes. Absolutely. Chat guy, anything on the chat in regards to the Big 12?
Hey, full stop, Texas Tech from All in the Game. I think everybody's on board with Texas Tech dominating the men's side in the Big 12s.
Love it. Sweet. All right, the last well, no, just kidding. Wait.
We have 2 more.
2 more. Okay, yeah, that's right. All right, let's talk about Big Sky.
Yes.
Because we talked with Colin earlier.
Yes.
So lots of big things coming from NAU. And yeah, they moved up into #1 spot on the men's rankings. And I feel like that's a great spot to be right now.
Yeah, going into this week on our FloTrack NCAA men's indoor team rankings, NAU is now at the top, which is, it's kind of one of those where you look at it and you think about it for a second, you're like, oh, they're #1. But then, because if you think about it, right, they're getting their points from distance.
Yes.
They're getting all their points from distance. So to say that in our rankings that they're #1, that I think that just emphasizes how special this distance squad is. And if you're looking at what they've done so far, we just saw them run one of the fastest DMRs all time, 9:17 at Notre Dame. You have Nico Young, who leads in the 5K, and then also with an altitude conversion leads the mile too for NCAA Division I. You have Colin Solomon. I mean, like, the list just goes on of like how many impact guys they have at the distance side, and I mean, that's big points right there when you go to NCAAs. But like, as you mentioned, we talked to Colin Solomon last week on the podcast, and he said, NAU, like, Big Sky Conference, like, trying to win that championship is something like we really put a big, heavy focus on. Like, they want to perform their best at conference. So I'll be curious to see what they do.
Yes, I love how you mentioned like the title is going to come from this distance squad. I think so often we hear about, NCAA, programs winning from the sprint side, and I think there's kind of a flip if you think about it, with just NAU being so strong and dominant, and they have depth, which is absolutely remarkable to think about it. You mentioned they're coming off of a huge DMR performance. Colin Solomon, talked with him last week, currently number 4 in that mile with the 3:53. Nico Young doing Nico Young things. Like, Nico is ready to go. He is. So I'm excited to see what NAU does, especially I appreciate that they add emphasis on these championships as we shift into the NCAA, championship part of the year. So,
and I think it's worth noting too, like, I think there's a difference here between indoor and outdoor, right? Because you mentioned, like, usually, we hear about the sprints, but if you're looking at indoor, you have that DMR where you can get points on the distance. Like, that's the extra thing. You don't have a distance relay where you can get points outdoors. So I think this is why here you see NAU so much higher in these rankings, because you can get those extra points in the DMR, and then you also have the mile, the 3K, and the 5K, and even the 800.
Yeah.
So here's a touch to that too. So shout out to Lincoln Track, who does our rankings and then does some analysis on it. Right now, the team score predictions is 44 for NAU, 43 for Arkansas. But the thing about the DMR indoors is that there's a quick turnaround from the 5K to the DMR, and Nico anchored the DMR recently. He's unlikely to probably run that indoors, so how they factor in maybe the next guy up will determine maybe their fate there. And what also helps NAU is that they have a weight thrower that's currently among the top 8 performers at the discipline. So, I mean, they do have distance heavy, but they do have a throws athlete that's really going to have an impact there too.
Absolutely agree there. All right, our final conference we're going to dive into is the Big Ten. And this is interesting because we were actually talking about all of this in the office this morning. It will be at the Spire Institute in Ohio. But I feel like Wisconsin is that program that you have to have on your radar going into these championships. And Ashley, you did a great job of breaking down the distance side. So what can we look out for here?
Yeah, looking specifically on the men's side, the Wisconsin men's distance team, I think, has potential to get some really big points here. If you look at where they are in the mile, the 3K, and the 5K, in the mile, they have Adam Spencer, NCAA Division I, number 4, 3:52.70, crazy time. Then if you're looking at the 3K, you have Jackson Sharp and Bob Bleiking that are both ranked within the top 21 in D1. They've both gone 7:45 and then 7:46. And then that same duo, when you look at the 5K, number 13 and number 19 in D1, 13:25 and 13:28. Those are the guys that are kind of leading that charge there in the men's distance events. And so depending on how you spread them out, like, that is some interesting points there. And then they also have a pretty good DMR, number 8, in NCAA right now. But I think it could be a duel with Michigan, because Michigan also has a very strong men's distance program. Tom Brady has been a star for them, which I still love that it's Tom Brady.
I know.
Michigan.
I know.
I think that's awesome. But I believe he's ranked among some of those top guys in the 5K and NCAA, and then they also have a really solid DMR squad. So it could be interesting.
Yeah. Corey, do you have any thoughts on the Big Ten? Because I know we were talking about it.
Last year, Big Ten conference on the men's side, 12 points separated the first 3 teams. Wisconsin won with 110, 7 points more than Nebraska. Iowa had 98. So those 3 teams last year were the top 3 performers. You're obviously mentioning Michigan, who's gotten better. But will it be a close battle with some of these teams that are kind of, balanced in terms of equity on their roster? I think Wisconsin probably has a little bit more depth, but I think ultimately it'll be like power scorers, like who has the most potential to win events and to carry that over. So I think it'll be an interesting dialogue there in the Big Ten men's conference.
Yeah,